Hi, thanks for joining in this video. I'm Jeanne Crane. Some of you may remember me from one of the presentations or for your visit to the festival authors tent in Dublin. If not, or whether we've met or not, I welcome you and I'm glad that you're joining me for this few minutes. I want to thank the city of Dublin for giving us this chance to be present with one another, even if it is only through a videotape. As you can see, I'm out on a lake. This is Canandaigua Lake. I live here in the Finger Lakes of New York, and this is one of my favorite places to be if I can't be in Ireland. I've entitled this presentation, Being Present, and I did that because I have been really noticing through this time of COVID that the one gift of it that I'm experiencing, and I hope maybe you are too, is it's giving me a chance to be so present in my own life. Maybe it's a re-gift, a reminder, because it's certainly something I know to do, but to stop the busyness and to stop checking off boxes and to just be with myself, to be very carefully with other people as we social distance, and to be in places like this, where we can really connect with nature, I think have just been really important to me and are things that I want to continue even when we come out of this kind of crisis and chaos that we're in. So basically, there are 3 points I'd like to make. One is this point of being present that I just spoke about. The second is get yourself to a thin place. As you know, if you have heard any Irish jargon before, thin place means that sense of being in a place that has its own mystic, magical, kind of wondrous feeling to it. Some people would say it's where you can touch the hand of God. Others would say it's where the veil is so thin that the fairies will come to visit. In whatever way you experience that sense of a power beyond yourself, a power that shows that you're part of a larger universe as you also hold on to your own sovereignty, is a thin place. So in my work and presentations and in my books, I talk a lot about traveling to Ireland to thin places. You don't have to go any place but your backyard to find a thin place. It's that tree that's gnarled and beautiful. It's that time in the garden. It's that looking and watching birds and listening to bird song. Again, you don't have to go someplace spectacular that's on the... You do have to go someplace that's not too rocky and crazy with lots of boats around to stay quiet and centered. But even then, it's beautiful to have the nature remind you that it's its place, not ours. The third thing I want to talk about briefly, and I can't not do this as an author, is the power of story. And we know that the Irish know how to tell a story. The Irish know how to write a story. And having a storied past and a storied present is important for our tradition. Simultaneously, though, we need to let go of our story. We need to write new narratives. We need to let story transform us. And that's another point that I'd like to make through a reading that I will give you. As you probably know, many Irish events begin with a Celtic blessing. It really is a tradition and one that is kept up in many places throughout Ireland. I wrote us a blessing for today that I would like to share. And as we meet virtually, I will begin. May we still feel the sense of community, the joy of Irish spirit, and the realization that we, like our ancestors, are hardy, resilient people who have faced adversity before and will continue to do so. May we continue to find ways to celebrate the spirit, the stories, the music, and the rituals that are not only with us through a day, that help us through the day, but also help to create a community and enrich our lives. And may we seek out those thin places all around us that can help center us, bring us peace, and connect us to a universal force greater than ourselves alone. So I'm going to continue with pictures of Ireland as I speak. Ironically, I get to show you some pictures I've not had the opportunity to do at the Dublin Festival because there's no technology available. So here we may not be having a live presentation, but you are getting the benefit of some pictures that I've taken that I think speak, as we all know, pictures speak a lot louder than words. The pictures are not labeled, but just email me if you have any questions or comments about anything you see. The first set are going to be of places that I highlight in my first book, Celtic Spirit, A Wee Journey to the Heart of It All. This is a story of a bus full of Americans and their visit to some of Ireland's most treasured sacred sites and the thin places that I referred to earlier. The individual stories within the story tell of how many of the people on the bus were transformed by an experience they had while at a sacred site. The characters, of course, are all fictional, but all of the places are real, and their impressions and experiences are very similar to ones that either I had or friends of mine had, or that I have imagined would happen if the characters that I have outlined were visiting. So I'd like to read you a passage from that book that takes place in Glendalough, which is St. Kevin's abbey, ruins of the abbey, that was a 5th century retreat, one of Ireland's foremost, and I think one of the most magical places still to visit. You will be hearing a young man who's on the trip with his dad, and his mom has just recently passed. He's a rebellious, angry teenager who's been acting out a little bit and hasn't really wanted to talk. But the backstory is that he's been really angry at his father for not being able to stop his mom's death, and even secretly angry at his dad that it wasn't him rather than the mother that passed. Something that one might expect from a teenage boy who was very close to his mom. So I'll just read from it as he leaves the group to go up to a place in a remote part of what is already a remote site, because St. Kevin used to actually leave the rest of them and go up to what's called St. Kevin's Bed, which was his own little rock formation away from everybody. So this is Jackson speaking from Glendalough. I thought I would want to go into the cave and just hibernate, but the sun started to appear between the clouds, and it was so warm, and the view was amazing. I ended up behind some rocks for privacy, but completely in the sunshine. I spread out there. Mom used to say, "Let's go lie in the bowl of heaven." That meant lie flat on our backs, looking up at both the sun and the moon together. It only happened at certain times on certain days that they were both in the sky together, but she knew when, and we always tried to find time to do it on those days. She said it was a sign of total surrender. She said one of the great mysteries of life is to learn the joy of surrender. I couldn't see the moon today, but it felt right to lie there. I prefer dark places, but today was different. Megan had told me she was reading this mystic guide that talked about people having a dark night of the soul and about how you had to hit bottom before you came back. And maybe coming back doesn't mean all cheery and light. Maybe it can mean just more real. She said she thought I was going through my dark night of the soul. She had not had hers yet. Most people get it when they're older or when the tragedy strikes. Yet she felt certain that it was a good thing because you went deep into yourself. Why was that so good? She thinks it's because you find yourself and you know you can always trust yourself to make it from there and get out of it. She also said she listened to her inner voice, but she knew she had never really been tested. I mean, I guess that's part of being a teenager. We're still really young and have not always been tested. But sometimes she admitted she was scared. She was scared that she wouldn't pass the test, but she hoped that she could. And then she gave me a soft kind of kiss on the cheek and told me to be brave. It was corny, but it was kind of nice at the same time. Sisterly, I guess, though I never had a sister. So I lay there wondering if I was coming out of a tunnel, wondering if my dark night of the soul was ending. Amidst the Stones of Celtic Ireland is my second book, and it's about an American couple who explore their new relationship as they travel amid the stone circles and abbey ruins of County Cork. Abbey, the name of the main character, connects with the energy of ancient times, while Mark gets an adventure sailing along the southern coast of Cork. I think you will really enjoy it as a story, a travel story, a story of someone connecting with their past and the ancient past of Ireland as they have a very contemporary relationship build and really learn to be with one another. And again, our theme of being present with themselves, with each other, with the places they visit, and with the present times that we're in. And so I would love to have you read that, and I think you will enjoy it. I also am working on a new book entitled, at least the working title is, An Accidental Pilgrim. And it is about an American woman, actually the same woman who you meet, Abby, in Amidst the Stones, and her experience being in Kildare and connecting with Brigit. Both the saint and the goddess are very strongly represented in Kildare. And I will look forward to sharing that with you at next year's Dublin Festival. The ebook is going to be based on three passions of mine. My passion for the stone circles, my deep interest and really just a abiding thirst for more information about the ancient ones and the wisdom that they can provide for us. And then thirdly, Celtic spirituality, as it was in the early Christian era, and also as many of us would interpret it today. The three things have taught me a lot, opened me to a lot of things, and brought an energy to my own life that I've tried to capture in my writings, all of my writings, whether it's the novels or the travel books or the presentations I give as well. And the ebook that I'm putting together is looking at the traditions, the rituals, and the wisdom of those times as they might relate to today. And I mean today in terms of everyday events, special events, and also this time of kind of crazy chaos and change that is more rapid than we've ever seen before. I encourage you to get a copy. They'll be free. They'll be available through my website. And at the end of the video, I will put up my contact information. I'm very much interested in hearing from any of you who have thoughts or ideas about the blog I write and or questions about what I've said. Thanks for listening, and goodbye from the Finger Lakes.